Welcome back to the Layman's Law School, where three Southern gentlemen lawyers sit around and talk about legal issues of the day and hopefully talk about things in a way in which everyday Americans can actually understand. We've started a new type of format where one of us actually brings the topic and the two other lawyers have no idea what we're talking about. And we kind of just react to what I think Reid is going to bring today, but before that,
thank you, Chace.
And just to say, last week I brought a topic. The week before, Chace brought a topic. So, and they were great topics. So
fantastic.
He's got a lot to live up to.
Absolutely. But before, I've been told that I avoid this. So, this is a
tradition.
Yeah, tradition.
Unlike any other.
And I can do hard things.
Yeah, I can do hard things.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and
it's Friday. And,
welcome in the
Bud Light, and I have a young child, and she did not sleep well, so I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah, good.
You deserve it.
I deserve it, guys. I deserve it.
Porter slept fine last night,
great,
and
great.
but I still deserve it.
You still deserve it. It's
Cheers.
Friday. Cheers.
Oh,
God awful.
You slammed the whole thing that quick?
Yep.
Wow. It's that good. It's that good.
Yes.
It's that good.
Goes down easy. So, Reid, what do we have today?
So today I gave y'all a little bit of info, but y'all haven't looked at anything. That's just some background info. But it is essentially Twitter versus Meta.
Uh-oh.
All right, and so I know y'all have heard a little bit about the everybody has with the Meta coming up with a new thing called Threads, and so that's a platform that's essentially off of Instagram. Shawn, he's on Instagram, so everybody out there, subscribe.
That's the only one.
I know.
I'm not on Twitter. And for people that don't know, Meta is the company that owns
Parent
Facebook
company,
and Instagram.
But
and
it's Facebook now. They changed their
What
name.
What is it called?
No, Facebook changed its name from Facebook
Just to Meta. Okay. I'm up on it.
Really?
Yes,
I got it.
But Meta owns the Facebook.
No wonder I can't log into my non-existent Facebook account.
So essentially, Threads is built off the backbone of Instagram, and you essentially have it looks exactly like Twitter. I mean, there's a little bit differences of what you can do and what you can't do, and what you write and what you can't write. But essentially, it is the platform, how you retweet something or reshare something. It looks identical. Everything looks identical, and so Twitter does not like this. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's happening now, and then some very brief things that happened in the past that I thought were funny and interesting with the situation. So. Twitter is threatening legal action against Meta over its new text-based social media app called Threads. Twitter is accusing Meta of poaching former employees to create what it calls a copycat application, saying that, and I quote, had and continue to have access to Twitter's trade secrets and highly confidential information. So essentially, that's their theory of what Meta is doing. Twitter is saying that, not only are you copying it, but you have our people that designed it, and now they're creating it for you.
Maybe you shouldn't have fired 2/3 of your workforce.
We're gonna get there. Listen, and
Mr. Musk.
for all the folks out there listening, Shawn may be a little biased in this, so I'm just purely in the middle. But
there's no bias whatsoever.
Shawn has some money in the Meta stock, so he's hoping. so sometimes you got to look at him and go, well, he might not be the most reliable source.
I am a fair and neutral arbitrator.
Yes.
And I call it like I said.
Yeah, and if Judge Alito of the Supreme Court can have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in a company in which he's actually ruling on a case where it could be negatively impacted, I think Shawn can weigh in here.
This is America.
Yeah.
Well, my point, my counterpoint to that, Chace, would be that, Ito has a lot more money than Shawn, so this might mean
all
more.
Relative.
Exactly, it's all relative. Anyway, back to the topic.
Okay, go.
So, Elon Musk's attorney, Alex Spiro, has sent a cease and desist letter along with a spoliation letter to Meta Threads to say, y'all have to keep all your crap, all the information on the employees, all the information on how this came to be, and you have to stop operation. All right. So there's two different things. So that's what's happening. That's happening right now. Now, a little tiny bit of backstory. a couple of weeks ago, only 2 weeks ago. Now, I want you to remember, Elon Musk sent this tweet, and he's worth $251 billion, right? Sent this tweet, I'm up for a cage match if Zuckerberg is, right? So Zuckerberg responds. Now, Zuckerberg, he's, I've
heard about that. He's actually a grappler,
training.
isn't he?
Yeah.
He's been training for about 2 years.
But he's needing some money. He's only got $104 billion.
Yeah.
And so he responded very maturely, send me a location. What is happening here? This is insanity.
Okay, so Zuckerberg is an MMA fan. Okay, he actually paid to have the Apex Center shut down and have a whole UFC where it was just him and his people there to watch. So he's a pretty big fan at this point. He's into it. He's got all these trainers. He's when people there's a few little sort of pastimes for people when they get into it. They're all in golf, surfing, and jiu-jitsu and MMA. Like when they get in, they're all in, and he's all in on that. So I
know. But I'm just saying these people have
that
the maturity level.
Well, no, that
of
comment,
a 13-year-old.
Yeah, well,
it's
that
insanity.
comment, it's almost like a joke though, because he is familiar with MMA history. Okay, and Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the biggest sort of rivalries in MMA. It kicked off because Conor McGregor attacked a bus and scared a bunch of people on a bus that Khabib was on, because Khabib basically punked one of Conor's friends, right? And Khabib responded, said, send me location. I don't care if it's Dublin, Moscow, New York. I don't care. Send me location. And so he was quoting Khabib.
Anyway, you got a bunch of rich dorks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going back with.
Yep.
Obviously, we know that Chace has some interest in the MMA side of things.
Yeah, a little bit.
He did say there's things that just take over your life and you get addicted to. I guess that's...
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a couple days ago. And so... or a couple weeks ago, excuse me. So the next one is Zuckerberg tweeted for the first time in 11 years. He tweeted a picture of the meme of the Spider-Man. Shawn, do you know that one?
Absolutely not.
No.
You don't know? Okay, so it's essentially Spider-Man is looking at Spider-Man. It's two Spider-Men, and they just are pointing at each other like, it's you, and it's the same person. It's the same thing. And so Zuckerberg, posted that meme on Twitter, which he hadn't posted to in 11 years, essentially saying, the day that they open Threads, saying, hey, this is the same exact thing. So Elon's response to that was, competition is fine, cheating is not. And then that was, like I said, a few days ago before this whole letter, cease and desist letter and all that stuff started going on. So this is the background of what we have at play here. The first thing I'd like to ask is, like Shawn, you kind of jumped the shark a little bit on it. You're right. Elon comes in, he goes, we have to fire a bunch of people, whether you agree with him or not. He says, either all of us lose our jobs or only some of us do, and we keep the company, blah, blah, blah. So he laid off a bunch of these people. Is there a situation where you lay people off that they can't go work for a competitor? Not even the trade secret stuff, but can't even go work for a competitor?
Well, it really depends on the state, but there are anti-compete agreements, that people sign.
Right.
Those are usually looked at very stringently by courts, depending on the state that they're in, and they have to be, extremely narrowly tailored. And when I say narrowly tailored, as far as location, type of things that people will be working on, you can't take a computer programmer and say, you can never be a computer programmer again if I fire you or you quit,
right?
Type thing. It's, but there are, laws that protect things that are considered trade secrets.
Oh, yeah.
And that's essentially what, from what I have heard, that Elon Musk is asserting that there's been some trade secrets that have been stolen.
Yeah, and one of the things the court looks to is actually like the location. Okay, this is going to be very difficult for Elon to sort of enforce in that, like,
100%.
Yeah, so like, I mean, if you're a roofer and you have a particular thing that you do in your roofing business that's unique to how you do it, and it's a trade secret for you, and one of your workers goes and works for a competing business that's in the same city as you, within 50 miles, and gives that trade secret to your competitor, and now they have an competitive advantage to compete with you, when before you had that then the court is going to try and protect you. But like if you move to another state and you're not impacting that person's business and you share that trade secret, when you say it's narrowly tailored, it has to be narrowly tailored to sort of how it's going to affect that person's business.
Sure.
Okay. And then also the time. The courts really try to, in our capitalist society, encourage competition.
Sure.
And so, while these people may be limited in sharing information for like maybe 4 or 5 years, 10, 20 years down the road, it's no longer, gonna be
even
valid.
4 or 5 years might be, looked at.
In tech,
it might be 4 or 5 months.
And it has to be, like I said, has to be tailored to the very, very specific ends type thing. You guys could say, well, Shawn, we'd like you to sign a non-compete agreement. And I'd be happy to sign it. But
speaking of
that, if I decided, personal injury, wrongful death cases are not my thing anymore. Y'all have fun with the business. I'm going to go do bankruptcy law.
Yeah.
You guys couldn't then say, well, no, Shawn, you can't be an attorney.
Right.
There may be a non-compete agreement that says, well, Shawn, you can't practice wrongful death, personal injury cases for, a year or two in the Augusta
area,
50,
mile radius,
100-mile radius, whatever our reach type thing is. But it's not going to be something that prevents me from practicing my profession or my career.
Shawn, you talked about narrowly tailored, and it goes one more thing that I think is very important. Y'all were talking about trade secrets and all that stuff, but this is the courts are always going to want people to be employed. So and especially if you're fired. Now, if you quit and go work for a competitor, a non-compete is going to hold a lot more water than if you're fired and go work for a competitor. And there's no specific law on that. That's just common sense.
It's one of the factors that the court considers.
And said trade secrets earlier, but that's what I'm really wondering about. Like, what trade secrets exist?
That was going to be my next question. Not on this. What is a trade secret in general?
A trade secret is really, in Georgia at least, can be absolutely anything, whether it be tangible, intangible, an ingredient, electronic data, a way of operating, a process, anything.
Yeah.
That you hold secret and you protect.
A secret is a good word. Can you give an example of any? I got a couple. What about KFC, baby?
Okay, right.
KFC.
Absolutely. What is the...
Is it 13?
16?
17.
Is it
17 herbs and
spices.
Yep.
Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Google's search, what is it
search
called?
algorithm?
Algorithm. That's the word I was like.
Yeah, the Coca-Cola, recipe.
Formula.
Formula.
Yeah, you can make them tell you the ingredients, but you can't say how it's done, how it's mixed, and all this stuff. So
how it's stored.
Right.
Yeah. The temperature, best to serve it at, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So in order to be a trade secret, number one, it has to be valuable and it has to be not something that's open and sort of obvious. I had a situation where I had a person that was a purveyor of an MMA gym. And he had somebody that was
back to the MMA gym.
Hey, look, we're talking about meta. I mean, I'm going to ask you guys to make a dang prediction between Musk and Zuckerberg here.
We need a better. I mean, can we think of a better thing? Like Zuckerberg's too long.
You're going to say this. You're going to say this is biased.
Zuck Musk.
If I had to give a prediction right now, I would take anybody, Mark Zuckerberg, or anybody who has had 2 years of MMA training and experience over Elon Musk. Regardless, I've seen, I've got a lot of friends also that do that type of thing. I've seen 120-pound people that I would never want to scrap with.
Have you ever seen somebody scrap with an alien?
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, hold on.
I will say this. So Mark Zuckerberg is 5'7", about 145, 150 pounds. And Elon Musk basically outweighs him by about 30 pounds.
Well, get back to your point.
Anyway,
I would take. I'm taking.
My point is, a trade secret has to be valuable, and it can't be something that's easily known or accessible to everybody out there.
Right.
And so, like in this particular situation, they have at this one gym, they have a training regimen where they teach people how to basically use kickboxing in order to train your cardio, to get your cardio up, right? But the methods are kind of like already out there on the internet. What that person is doing and what they use at their gym is something that's information that's already out in the public, right? And that person left that gym and went somewhere else and started doing exactly what, and when I'm when he's asking me like, what can I do to stop this person? He signed a non-compete. I was like, well, Georgia does not look kindly on non-competes, and what's the secret? And he explained the secret, and I said, well, that doesn't really qualify as a trade secret in that I can go on the internet and find your exact, regiment or whatever. So it's not secret. So
yeah, it's kind of, I always think, for whatever reason, just thinking law school stuff is, I always thought about KFC because maybe I'm the Colonel Sanders. You never know. Boom. Anyway, but you can't hide how to fry chicken. But you can hide how you prepare the chicken to be fried. That's how I've always, and that's the simplest way I could get it in my head.
Well, and that's what confuses me so much about Elon's statements is what is the trade secret? I mean, American Online came out a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
God bless my wife; she still has an AOL email address.
Wow.
But
it's like almost like an antique at this point.
There was posting message boards and posting boards on that. So what makes Twitter so different from everything that else has progressed? What makes Twitter different from Reddit, that is a posting board messaging type app? And then, what is the secret that he's saying was stolen?
Right. And it's Shawn, you're just leading me to my questions for y'all. So it's a great segue. You're doing an awesome job without knowing what it is.
These are just the things I think about when people say, crazy things about.
It's nice to have a genius in the room.
Yes, I forget that. So the Elon's attorney sent the cease and desist letter. Now with that, you have to list and tell them, like, if you're saying you have to stop because of trade secrets, then you have to list what the trade secret is. In that, to make it hold any water. So we can't see the letter. Nobody's seen the letter except a couple of investigators, and they can't show it or anything else.
But they can show it. They just not.
Well, they'll have a case against them real quick if they do show that. But when you have a cease and desist letter, like essentially, Chace, what is it? What does it do? Why do you have it? And why did Elon send it in this case?
Right. So a cease and desist letter is when you believe that you have some sort of legal right to stop a particular action, and you're putting the person on notice that what they are doing is tortious, is causing damage to the business, and that they need to, from that point, stop what they're doing, whatever it is. Okay, because they're causing damage to a particular business, and when you state it, it has to be clear, it has to be comprehensive in explaining sort of what they're doing, how it's actually harming the business, and what is actually, what they're doing that's infringing upon some sort of trademark, some sort of trade secret.
It's only fair to have a little bit of notice. What
am I doing exactly that you want me to stop? So,
but you had to lay out what the problem is, right?
Exactly, and those kind of things can be effective in doing a lot of things. And one of them, they talk about mitigating damages. All right, mitigating damages is just like if there's a fight and you are actively doing a fight about, you're causing some sort of harm to somebody else, and you're putting them on notice that, hey, you're harming me in this way, and you need to stop what you're doing because it's going to cause problems. Well, once you're on notice and you fail to actually stop that thing, it can actually increase the damages that you're responsible for from the time that you became, notified.
Once you're put on notice and given
real quick. This is prior to a lawsuit.
That's right.
Absolutely.
For folks, a lawsuit has not happened. You send this prior to it.
Sure, and it's that. Once you're put on notice, and if you're given that specific information about what you are doing that they believe is a violation, the way that attorneys get damages is by showing that you were put on notice, and this is now willful or malicious conduct, right? which can lead to even punitive damages.
And like Chace said, I mean, if you don't have that letter and you win the lawsuit, then the damages start from when the lawsuit's filed. Most cases, not all, but if you have a letter that lays out the foundation of what was wrong and you put them on notice, then the damages start from when that letter occurred. So it's a big thing. But in this case, so what are Meta's options, and then also what are the consequences to those options, depending on how things play out?
I would say that Meta's options are to absolutely do nothing.
Sure.
Which a lot of times, that can be the advice of legal counsel that, they don't have a leg to stand on.
Like Chace's MMA friends, you can send out a cease and desist, but
they don't really have to follow it.
They can cooperate with the lawyer from Elon Musk and communicate and say, hey, we've done nothing wrong. Please, clarify what you think we're doing that is wrong. That is something that could prolong the period where punitive damages could be awarded. You can't, if they don't know what they're actually doing wrong and they're just asked to just stop your whole company.
Right.
They can't be punished for that. But, as far as, if there is an actual trade secret that has been stolen, procured fraudulently or taken by another employee, there's a lot more things that Twitter and Elon Musk can do.
Mm-hmm.
As far as lawsuits, filing for injunctive relief, which would make them Meta absolutely stop everything.
Yeah.
Calculating, if all of a sudden Twitter's revenue goes down as a result of this,
right,
they can be seeking economic damages. All sorts of things that they could be doing.
Chace, I got a good one. Go ahead. If you got
I was just going to say something in addition to this is that, all right, so this is a trade secret that they're alleging, right? Well, that means that Meta didn't know how to do it before, right? And that these people brought all this stuff in, right? They can actually do an internal audit, and they can actually say, hey, was this something that y'all worked out at Twitter and you brought over here and you signed an NDA not to share this information?
Sure.
Right?
That's essentially what the spoliation letter is going to. Right. That's why you send it. So none of the basically it's just you can't destroy anything. Right. Leave it at that for this conversation.
But and to go back a little bit to what Shawn was talking about, for those of you that don't know, all right, there are levels of responsibility that you can be labeled with. And there's basic negligence. That's just like me being a human being and making a mistake, right? And then there's basically recklessness, and that is me being, deciding to have 16 beers and drive down the road. That's recklessness, right? Now, if I go out and I just say, I don't really like this person and I hit him with a bat, that is malicious. That is intentional conduct, right? And so by sending this cease and desist letter, right, their level of culpability can be raised. And when that happens and you are malicious and your intention, you know that you're causing this problem, you know you're hurting this business, and you do it anyway, that's what we, when we talk about punitive damages.
In the biz.
In the biz. Right.
So we call punitives.
It's punitive damages.
What we call crunch time in
the
biz.
Right. So Elon might be able to show that his business suffered $100,000 in losses. Okay, perfect. Right. That is compensation. You're just getting compensated for your loss, right? But the court doesn't like businesses to do this, and it doesn't want businesses to do it in the future. Right. If Threads is stealing this stuff, okay, that allows the jury, and they're doing it intentionally, maliciously, to harm Twitter. It allows the court and the jury to award punishment damages, to punish and to deter people in the future, punish Meta and deter people in the future from doing it. So when we say punitive, we mean to punish the person who's being reckless or intentional.
To jump on that real fast, and then I got another question, we'll end it, but punitives, when people get awarded punitives, you see it in the paper, $1 jillion. People at home, please realize that the plaintiff generally does not get that money. It goes to different accounts depending on states, and a lot of times helps victim assistant, and it does really a lot of good things. But people get, he got awarded $1 million. No.
Well, and sometimes in Georgia, the statute
limits
what punitive damages can be. So even if a jury comes back and says you're getting $5 million in punitive damages, well, what's the cap now? $250? Yeah, $250,000 is what you're capped at
regardless.
per instance of,
Yeah.
of type conduct. And then the only other thing is, similar to the Fox case that we talked about previously, when you have willful and malicious conduct and then willful and malicious litigation in the matter, the Meta could be on the hook for the attorney's fees as well.
Our last one I got for you guys before we run out of time here. All right, so let's hypothetical that this is information that Meta did not have, and this is a trade secret. Let's just say that that's true. Twitter fires employees. All this is true. That's happened. Those employees go work for Meta. They do this on their own and say, we can, hey, we want you, Zuckerberg says we want to build this new thing called Threads. And the ex-Twitter employees who have the trade secrets did not say that they were trade secrets, did not say that this is where we got them. They built this on their own volition, and this came to be. What are Elon's options there? I mean, I was thinking through it. Like, I guess you would have to have a claim against Meta for employing these people that you still have a duty of some sort.
You would have a responsibility, I think, to show that there was like an incentivized thing, like that Meta tried to elicit this type of information from these employees, and there would have to be some culpability on Meta. And then once they got the cease and desist, that they did nothing to try and stop it. They did nothing to audit. They did nothing to figure out, all right, is this true?
Right.
They just kept benefiting from the trade secrets.
Because outside of that, I mean, I think you could sue the individual employee,
right? And how much money do they have?
But that's what I mean. If you are, I don't. What was the number?
That's not going to cover your
200 billion and another 100 billion guy. They're suing a singular employee.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those guys suing me, they're not going to get a lot. That's kind of how I viewed it. But that probably didn't happen. But that could have happened if you got some disgruntled ex-Twitter employees who were pissed. And Elon comes in and just fires them immediately, and they need a job. It's not far-fetched to say, hey, let's get together. We can propose this to build on the back of Instagram.
Yeah.
And Meta has no idea that it came from
I'm
Twitter.
glad you said that because that is why Twitter and Mr. Musk are so afraid, is because I heard this on the radio earlier today when they actually talked about this case briefly, and it was that Instagram, which is owned by Meta, already has like 2 billion people that use it,
right?
And Twitter, that's monthly users or something. I think they characterize it. When Twitter has like 250 million monthly users. Wow. So when you piggyback on Instagram, that's going to make this Threads thing much more accessible and usable.
Right.
You are opening up 2 billion customers that you already have to it versus someone who is trying to survive on Twitter as a company with 200, 300 million monthly type users.
Yeah, I think Elon's gotten himself in a little bit of a pickle here in a variety of ways, but basically he borrowed that $42 billion that he paid for this thing. And I think he overpaid, and according to what analysts have said about this, I honestly think he wanted to own Twitter because it was like something he wanted.
It is, 100%.
Yeah.
It's just it's the same thing we talked about, a couple weeks ago. Is the sub people. They just think they're untouchable. They have too much money, and they just throw it at ridiculous, stupid things and expect it never to go wrong. They don't live in the real world. Well, and this Twitter and metaverse, y'all go fight it out. Good luck to the both of you.
Well, I know that Elon recently limited the number of actual tweets that you could view unless you had a paid account.
You got to pay,
Right.
So trying to generate revenue.
Well, he's trying to generate revenue. Okay, and it's in part because he can't actually pay the cloud-based fees that Google charges to keep Twitter, right? And because it's based in the cloud and Google Cloud, and he can't afford that, plus the interest payments that are required on the $42 billion loan. And what it's causing him to have to do is actually have to sell Tesla stock in order to actually pay the interest on the loan and the cloud fees, and that drives Tesla's stock down.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, my friend.
And in turn, lowers his,
His
overall net
value.
worth.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Should have stuck with Tesla and
SpaceX.
rocket ships and called it a day.
Well,
Starlink.
Well, and like I said, we're running out of time. But the last thing, no question, but maybe we can get into it at a different show. But recently, a federal judge, I think I have it written down in Louisiana, made a ruling that it could block any agency, including the Departments of Justice, Health, Human Services, and State Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, the FBI, and many other government officials from doing things like notifying platforms about specific posts that may be against even their own rules or asking for information about content moderation efforts. So not only are we having this battle in this Twitterverse versus metaverse, now the courts are saying that we're not even going to look how y'all regulate it at all. So that's good. That might be another topic for another day. Especially with you have, like you just said, the monetary things that are pushing it. Twitter is needing money, and the way Meta is doing it is through the way Twitter used to. They're kicking out people and doing it through advertisement. Same thing that goes on with our government lobbyists. What's that going to push? Now we're not looking into what's true and not true anymore because the courts are saying we're staying out of it. So good luck out there on social media. Yeah.
Well, before we go, I think we need to do this right now. What, $20?
Somebody's birthday or
No. Who you got? Elon or Musk or Mark?
I got Mark.
In the MMA fight?
In the fight.
I've got Mark, absolutely.
I got Mark.
I'm going with Musk.
Yeah, I'm going
Mark.
Mark.
I'm going with Musk. I'm going with the size, and I just also happen to know he trains with JSP and John Danaher.
I mean, like I said,
so he's in the MMA too. See, I didn't know that.
Shawn.
Now you're giving me more information I'm not aware of.
And he's heavier.
You're talking about weights and all that stuff. I'm talking about which one has the most robotics in them at this point.
Which one's the most alien?
Yeah, which one's...
All right. And your money's on Mark.
My money's on Mark at this point.
I think that's pretty safe. That's going to do it for us today on the Layman's Law School. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.